Hello all. Happy Mother's Day. I hope you've had a great week and a great weekend. I hope you're able to get out and do something fun. What I want to talk about today is make time for God and for others. And we see that from Daniel chapter 4. Specifically, how we see it in that chapter is through Nebuchadnezzar's dream. So we've seen Nebuchadnezzar in other videos. He's back again, and he's had another dream, and he presents this dream again to Daniel. And Daniel explains to him what it means. So he tells Daniel that it's about this huge tree. It's feeding the earth. Everyone loves this tree. An angel comes down and says that we're going to cut down this tree. So they do. It is cut down, and then there's a bronze band put on the stump of the tree. So it is preserved. So he tells Daniel, what does this dream mean? And here's what Daniel tells him. He tells him, King Nebuchadnezzar, this tree represents you. And the problem is your pride. If you don't deal with your pride, you're going to be cut down like this tree was. So we take this interpretation. He goes on for another year, and he doesn't really change. He doesn't deal with his pride. He doesn't consider God more, and he doesn't think of other people more. He doesn't deal with his own pride. And so as he's looking out over his city of Babylon, he says, this is my great city. Look what I've done. I'm so glorious. He's thinking only of himself. God strikes him down, and he gets the mind of an animal. And this is what it could have looked like in artist's depiction. He wanders like this for 7 years, and without his mind or anything. But after the time has gone of 7 years, he comes back to himself, and he starts to acknowledge that God's in control. And he sees that God has been in control this whole time, and so his pride was dealt with, and he then recognizes God. And what I think we can learn from this example of King Nebuchadnezzar being humbled is that our pride can be dealt with as well. And when that happens, then we can make time for God and for others. So one way that we can make time for God and for others is to deal with our pride. And we all know big examples of pride, right? There is the big CEO who's looking down on everyone in his company because it's all about him. We have the big sports star who the game's all about him, focus on him, let him do the big things, and he looks down on everybody else. Also, we have examples from history. I think of Napoleon. You have Emperor Napoleon steamrolling all of Europe. Nobody can seem to stop him. He's unstoppable. He takes his grand army to Russia, and is just decimated. Comes back with barely anyone. And so we all see these huge examples. We know what pride looks like in that way, the big examples, but it's not always like that. It's not always huge and obvious pride. Sometimes pride is subtle. Sometimes what pride can look like is not depending on God at all in our everyday lives, not having time for Bible reading. We don't think God needs input in our lives, so we ignore the Bible. Also prayer. We don't pray to Him for help for us, for help for other people. We don't see that as necessary. Also, considering other Christians. We all need help from other Christians, but pride makes us think that we don't. And how that looks like is we don't need church. We don't need those examples of other Christians. But that's a mistake because that's how Jesus designed the church. He said this is for Christians to have other Christian examples to grow from, and then also for you to help other Christians to grow. So it's a great thing. As we deal with our pride, we begin to see that we need these things. We need other Christians in our lives. So that's one way to make time for God and others, is to deal with our pride. Another is to follow Jesus' command. And we see this in Matthew chapter 22. He says that the greatest command is to love the Lord your God with your heart, soul, and mind. And the second is like unto it. Consider other people, love other people like yourself. And how we do that, how we can put that into practice is to, like John the Baptist said, he needs to increase, I need to decrease. We think of ourselves less. If we think of Jesus more, we consider him and God, and we start to think of ourselves less, that's the way to do it. That's the way to put it into practice. Because a lot of times pride looks like just being wrapped up in ourselves. And we think about ourselves all the time. But if we can consciously stop thinking about ourselves and being self-centered, and think about other people, you automatically put that into practice. So ways to make time for God and for others is to deal with our pride, and then to follow Jesus' great command of loving God with everything we are and loving other people as well. So putting this into real life practice, we need to deal with our pride, but then also dive into Scripture. Like, read the Bible, absorb it, get as deep as you can into it, put it on your walls, put it in your mind, memorize it, and live by it. The Jewish people used to have a box that they put scripture in and put it on their foreheads just to keep scripture close. So we can do things like that, not necessarily that, but just, having scripture, being familiar with it. Also, we can pray. We should be praying to God for our own problems, for other people's problems, and just thanking God and having thanksgiving towards Him. Then also helping other people, branching out to other people, thinking of ourselves less, thinking of other people more. And it doesn't have to be everyone, just one person. Every journey starts with one step, right? So we want to think of ourselves less and just help one other person to start with, and then it can grow from there. So that is all. Thank you all for watching, and God bless you, and I'll see you next time.